Good evening, and thank you for joining Senator Sullivan and Senator Murkowski's virtual teletown hall tonight. Tonight we also have some special guests from the Small Business Administration who will be helping us answer questions as well. My name is Mike Anderson, and I'll be tonight's moderator. In just a few moments, we will turn it over to the senators for some few brief opening remarks about tonight's Small Business Town Hall before opening it to questions. Importantly, if you'd like to ask a question tonight, please press *3 at any time and you'll be connected with a call operator. Again, if you'd like the opportunity to ask a question this evening, please press *3 to enter the queue. With that, we'll turn the call over to Senator Murkowski. Senator, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you to everyone who has joined us on this call tonight. This is the third teletown hall that Senator Sullivan and I have hosted for the past 3 Thursdays now, and tonight we're going to be really honing in on our small businesses. As we know, really the small businesses are the backbone, if you will, of our state. Over 99% of our businesses in the state of Alaska fit this bill. So when we put in place those programs to help our small businesses get through this pandemic, this is a priority. I really have appreciated the stories, the phone calls, the emails that we have received, and you read the accounts of the water taxi down in Ketchimack Bay, tough to fuel up your boats, but they're continuing to serve residents in the area. We are hearing from the local retailers who are wondering whether their online sales are going to be enough to keep them afloat. The restaurants, the breweries, the coffee shops, everybody just wants to try to keep the wheels on the bus. So we hear you. We have been acting through federal legislation, through federal resources to address. We want to be there to answer the many, many questions that you all have about the federal response and really how to navigate. And so tonight, to be able to have some of our regional representatives within SBA to answer directly the questions that you have is greatly, greatly appreciated. Now, we're going to be talking primarily about the SBA programs, but I think it is important to recognize that some of the other direct assistance pieces that we have put in place, we're starting to see get to people. The direct assistance payments started coming to people's direct deposit accounts over the weekend. As of yesterday, about 80 million in payments had gone out. At over 50% of those who will receive those direct assistance payments have already received them. There have been glitches. We know about that, so we need to hear from you on that as well. Social Security recipients should be seeing their payments later this month, and those who have filed their returns through the mail should start getting a paper check beginning as early as next week. So that is in process. If you want to know where your payment is, you can go to the IRS website, Get My Payment, and try to track that. The UI benefits, the unemployment insurance benefits have been coming on in terms of the additional $600 per week on top of the state benefits. Those who are part of the self-employed gig worker, independent contractor, the state is still working to build out that program, so we haven't seen that come online yet, but it is coming. I wish that we all had better news to share tonight about the Paycheck Protection Program and the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. As you have, I'm sure, all already heard, all those resources have been subscribed as of today. And so our responsibility, our obligation, I believe, is to make sure that our small businesses that have taken so much of the brunt of this economic impact in this past month to 6 weeks, that we can be there for you as you have been there for us. So tonight's conversation is hopefully going to be to help you navigate, but I want to thank all of you as business owners for what you're doing, the services that you provide to Alaska, the jobs that you provide, and really that spirit of entrepreneurship that you demonstrate day in, day out. So I know we've got lots of questions. We've got lots of folks that want to share updates, and so I'll end my comments again with just a genuine thank you to all that you are doing and for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Senator Murkowski. And this is just another reminder that if you have a questions for the senators or the SBA tonight, please press *3 to be placed in the queue. Again, that's *3 to be placed into the queue. With that, Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mike. And I want to thank all Alaskans who are joining Senator Murkowski and myself and the SBA officials with us this evening. We know that this is a very stressful time, unprecedented, and what we've been trying to do is get the word out, answer your questions, take questions, hear the concerns and challenges that have been raised. As Senator Murkowski mentioned, one of the areas of focus tonight in terms of the CARES Act is the Paycheck Protection Program. It has started to work by indications of the $350 billion fund that backed it has already been subscribed, as Senator Murkowski mentioned. In our state, we had over $600 million of loans approved, and I know people were working hard on that, small businesses, our community bankers, credit unions. But what we need to do here is to get to a spot very quickly where this is reauthorized for significant funding. It's a bipartisan program. In my view, it should be above politics. Preferably, we should have the Senate back here debating it and voting on it very soon, but I'm hopeful that's going to happen. In the meantime, we know that there were snafus. There was issues with Wells Fargo, for example, at the beginning when the loans began, and other elements of the frustrations under this program. So what we wanted to do tonight was literally bring some of our SBA experts, Jeremy Field, who's the regional administrator for Region 10, so that's us, Washington State, Oregon, Idaho. So he's the top official for the federal government really in the Pacific Northwest. Nancy Parizo, who is our district director for the SBA's Alaska office, and Kevin Wynn, who is working in the SBA's Office of Disaster Assistance. So we wanted them to be on the line to answer in specifics your questions, particularly on this program. I'll conclude by just saying, there's really no other way to say this. We are facing incredibly challenging times. We're seeing the spikes in unemployment and other challenges for Alaska, for America. And what we are trying to do is get through the CARES Act and other federal legislation as much resources to our state, to our families, to our communities, to our small businesses as we can. Many of you on the line, all of you on the line, are the heart and soul of our communities. I do want to encourage you, as we have in the last 3 teletown halls, please use us. Our staffs are working around the clock. Many of them are on the line tonight. The questions that we can't get to or can't answer tonight about the programs, we will get back to you. And if you have specific issues, whether you haven't received your relief paycheck yet or a specific issue related to your family or your small business, please call our offices. We want to work with and help everybody during these very challenging times. I'm confident we're going to get through them, more stronger, more innovative, and everybody has a role to play. In our great state, everybody is playing a role. Everybody's sacrificing for one another. It's quite impressive, and it's going to get us through this more quickly. So with that, I'm looking forward to hearing from Mr. Jeremy Field, and then taking your questions.
All right, Mr. Field, you're up.
All right, well, first I want to answer a question that Senator Sullivan asked me the last time we had this kind of a forum. Senator Sullivan, I unfortunately, if members of a fishing crew are part of the gig economy, they would have had to apply for the PPP for themselves. And I'm sure that we'll see that second round. But I want to let you know that we looked into that, and I want to make sure I had an answer for you. I want to leave, guys, with our good news. The good news is that Congress passed a $349 billion assist to small businesses in the United States, and in less than 2 weeks, we were able to get all of those funds obligated, and soon they'll be, some have already been paid out, but pretty soon small businesses all across the country will be having access to the PPP funds for their payrolls, for their mortgage and lease payments, and for their utility bills. And that's a huge thing. For all those small businesses who have already qualified and were able to get in round one, congratulations. This is going to be 8 weeks where you are sharpening your saws, training up your people, strategizing on what business looks like 8 weeks from now, how you're going to come out of this crisis, and use this time to your advantage to get your people ready for what comes next, whatever your business needs to adapt as we come out of this. And that's the good news. We've also, I want to let you know that our Administrator, Jovita Carranza, as well as Secretary of the Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, has asked for Congress to appropriate additional funds for this program, and Senator Murkowski and Senator Sullivan already have commented on that. We're seeing a really, really good programs here, and obviously the PPP was an incredibly popular program. Also, if you have an SBA loan with the Small Business Administration, whether it's a 7A loan, a 504 loan, a micro loan, whatever it may be, the SBA is going to pay for your fees and payments for the next 6 months. And if you are looking to get a 7A loan or a 504 loan for the SBA, we will also be doing the same through September 27th. So now is a really good time to apply for a traditional SBA program and to receive 6 months where the SBA potentially can pay for your principal and interest and fees. So don't forget about that. If you have more questions about our 7A program, our 504 program, get in touch with our offices. Local lenders who are experts in these programs can help you walk through the process. That is additional debt relief that is available to you via the SBA. Now, since we have someone on from disaster assistance, I'll leave that to them. But I want to give a big thank you to any of our local community lenders that are there. Obviously the Wells Fargos of the world, they cranked through a lot of loans and carried a lot of weight. But I know that the local lenders that I have spoke to that had long hours, that were reaching out to their local clients and making sure that they got access to these programs, they deserve so much credit for all the work they've done to get these funds in the hands of small businesses. For those of you who have not been able to qualify for this first round of PPP funds, I can tell you I completely empathize with you. My younger brother also, just due to the demand with a local lender he went through, my brother wasn't able to acquire a PPP loan in the first round. And so, I'm obviously invested and hopeful that we'll see additional funds into this program. But I'll tell you another thing is that this program was quite a challenge for the SBA. We really had to go and create whole new websites and new partnerships to deliver these services to small businesses. At first, our portal for the Office of Disaster Assistance was down. Our team in the field office got to work and found a private partnership so that now those loans could be processed, within 5 minutes with a simplified form. And also with the Paycheck Protection Program, our traditional E-Tran system, and that's inside jargon, but that's the system that our lenders use to do guaranteed loans with the SBA. That was not strong enough to handle the new load of lenders that came online. And we came up again with an amazing public-private partnership, and we were able, as a result, to get $349 billion into the hands of small businesses within 2 weeks. We don't do that kind of volume in almost 14 years, and we did it in less than 14 days. And so I can't tell you how proud I am to work with the colleagues that I work with. I can't tell you. There were long nights and long hours and a lot of hard work that went into this to get the PPP program out the door and get those funds to small businesses as soon as we could. Be patient with your lenders now. All that stress and all that anxiety that was on the SBA to get our portals open is now on all of our local lenders and the banking community. I know they want to get those funds out to you as quickly as they can, and they will. And so be patient with them as they work through their processes, and the SBA continues to assist them. We're going to get those funds to you as soon as we can if you've not already received your PPP check. So with that, I'll turn the time back over to the host.
All right, thank you. And just again, for those that might have just joined us, if you're looking to ask a question at any point, please press *3 to be placed in the queue. Again, that's *3 to be placed in the queue. All right, well, we're going to take our first question now. First up, we're going to go to Jesse in Anchorage, who has a question for the senators and the SBA.
Hello, good evening, Senator Sullivan, Senator Murkowski. It's Jesse with coaching from Anchorage. Actually, part of my question has been answered, but the concern of most of the people who called me and wanted to seek answers regarding the backlog in applications with the banks they're dealing with. And the second question is the non-profit organization that try to avail of the small business loans, is somewhat lost or not much support getting there. Thank you.
So Jesse, I can speak to the issue of the nonprofits because we did make our nonprofits eligible for the PPP, which was an important provision for them. And it is not all nonprofits. It's 501c3 and 501c19 veterans organizations as well as tribal small businesses, but they are eligible under the PPP program. I know that initially there was some confusion about personal guarantee or collateral requirements. We did clear that up. So if there are specifics with regards to a nonprofit, happy to look more into the details of it. It is possible that they were not they were not a nonprofit organized under the allowances of the Paycheck Protection Program. But we're happy to look into that if you'd like.
Yeah, and Jesse, thanks for participating. I hope you're doing well. And as Senator Murkowski mentioned, we're very focused on the nonprofit sector. They're doing a lot during this pandemic. They're on the front lines. They're critical elements of our community, particularly now more than ever. So, we can work with you, our offices. And I'm answering your question, but I'm also going to ask Jeremy field a similar question, if that's okay, which is, even though the funds have run out for now, and we anticipate we're going to backstop this program very significantly, can people continue to apply for the PPP? I would assume, Jeremy, the question is yes. And Jesse, I'm not sure if that's exactly what your question was, but I think a lot of people have that question.
So that will largely depend on what your lender is saying. Again, the banking community has been, I've just been so impressed with how hard they've been working. If your lender is willing to begin the application process, and so it can be ready to go when the systems are back online, then yeah, the answer is yes. But I'm not sure what all lenders will be doing. I'm sure some are going to say we won't take loans until there are funds there. Obviously, the SBA won't be able to guarantee or approve any of these loans until the funds are acquired. But if you have a question, it'd be a question that you would direct to your local lender to see if they'd be willing to get started on the application, and so that if funds became available in the future, your loan could be processed quickly.
And Jeremy, if I can just jump back in here, would you figure that is also true for the EIDL loans, which are also suspended now?
That's a great. Yeah, so I'll leave that to. I believe we have a representative from Disaster Assistance. There's. Is he part of our host call?
Yeah, I'm here, Jeremy. Good evening.
Perfect.
Kevin Wynn with Disaster Assistance. So yes, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan portal, the gateway to the application, is currently not accepting applications. We are not accepting applications until their appropriations are back up and running. And another thing, Senators, private nonprofits can apply for economic injury disaster loans and are eligible for that $10,000 advance once the program gets back up and running.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you for that question. Again, for people that have just joined us, if you're looking to ask a question of the senators tonight, please press *3 to be placed into the queue. With that, we're going to go to Richard Peck down in Kenai. Richard, you're on.
Yes, the question is, I have gone to Key Bank here in Kenai since last Friday and tried to apply. They didn't know what was needed with SBA. As through yesterday, they said they'd contact me once they figured something out. They still haven't contacted me today, and so I just wonder what is the issue between SBA and Key Bank here in Kenai. I'm an independent contractor.
We have the Alaska director on. Can Nancy, can you say whether or not Key Bank is one of the SBA lenders or part of the participants?
Yes, thank you, Senator. Yes, Key Bank is a pretty active participant with us, but there are some of the smaller branches and some of the remote communities have not been quite as active in the regular lending, and it's possible that they just weren't up to speed on it. I know that a lot of the lenders had to take kind of a crash course in how to use the processing system and how to figure out how to communicate with SBA. That's possibly what happened down there. I'm sorry to hear that, but I can certainly follow up with them if you'd like and just ask them if they need some additional training because I have an excellent lender relations specialist in my office that can offer one-on-one training to help them be up to speed so when the program is funded again, they can be ready for you.
All right, thank you.
Great. Can I mic this real quick? Sorry, Nancy, can you, is there a way to connect Nancy and Richard directly after this, given his question on the Kenai Key Bank issue?
Certainly, and I'm glad to give out my email address if he just wants to email me directly. Richard, would that work for you?
I think he's off the line now, but go ahead. I would just go ahead and offer it to him if you could.
I'll just give it. Sure. It's nancy.porzio@sba.gov. That's nancy.porzio P as in Paul, O-R, Z as in zebra, I-O, at sba.gov. Glad to look into that. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Thanks, Nancy.
Okay, thank you for that. Again, if there's people on the line that would like to ask a question and have not, if you want to press *3, you'll be placed into a queue. With that, we're going to go to Mary in Anchorage, who has a question for the senators. Go ahead.
Yes.
You're on.
You still have me muted.
We
Nope.
can hear you, Mary.
No, we can
You're
hear
live.
We can hear you, Mary.
Now we can't.
All right, well, it sounds like Mary had a question, and she asked, for those who have applied to the PPP, how do we know if you've made it to the queue or not?
The best way you can find out is, again, contact your local lender. Ask them if that process was completed before the funds were depleted. So call your local lender and see where they are in that process.
All right, next we're going to go to Laura Oden, Anchorage, who has a question.
Hi there. Can you hear me now?
Hi, Laura. I can hear you.
Hello? Okay, great. Well, I want to thank everybody for doing what they can to help us and making these calls available. I really appreciate it. I think my question has basically been answered, which is that if we haven't been approved by now, then we didn't get into the queue. My experience was that I submitted an application in less than 24 hours after the applications were made available. So it's a bit of a mystery why, somebody can submit an application so quickly, including all the follow-up paperwork, which was all done very quickly, and not having gotten in the queue or approved. I understand that my loan was sent to the SBA maybe yesterday. So anyway, I guess that's my experience, and we'll wait for the next round, I guess.
Do you know, would you mind mentioning, Laura, this is Senator Sullivan, would you mind mentioning if you don't mind, the lender, and maybe we can also have Nancy look into it?
Yeah, well, this may be part of the problem, I suppose. I ended up selecting to use an online lender because we already had a relationship with them and a credit line with them. It seemed like they were very quick on the application and the process, and when I talked to our local banker, they did not have as much clarity on the process. So every time I talked to somebody, it sounded like it didn't matter which institution you went through, but now maybe that's not the case.
Well, I would be glad to follow up. If you want to send me an email, please do, and I'll check on it for you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
So, Laura, I'm going to use your question here to prompt a question to Jeremy here, because there's been some discussion that perhaps in smaller banks in more rural places, which you're looking at Alaska here, that perhaps they were not as nimble to take on the this process as it came through so quickly, and there has been some level of push to make sure that there's more of this the PPP loans that go out to rural and underserved communities where perhaps some of the smaller firms don't have these relationships with big banks that, again, may have had greater ability to participate quickly. Has this been an issue in Region 10, particularly in Alaska, where perhaps our smaller banks have not been able to engage as forcefully as some of the larger banking institutions?
That's a great question, Senator. Anecdotally, I don't have a list of all the lenders. This is where we wish we had more data. I don't have the data to break that down and be able to say who participated and who did not. What I do have is anecdotes of people that had called in for help who had they were working with their community banks, their small credit unions. We worked a lot through the different organizations who represent those lenders so that they could pass information down. Often, just like this, we had web conference calls with the Northwest Credit Union Association, all the state's banking associations. We were trying to push out that information that way to existing channels. And in large part, I felt to great success. Nancy, do you know if just with all those local community banks, do you have a better feel for how it worked directly in Alaska?
Jeremy, I too am missing that data. I would love to know where they're coming from, but I know even our large banks, have branches in all of those areas, and we were pushing out the information to all the bankers so they were aware of what was going to, what was required, and how to share that with the public. And then we also work closely, with the chambers and the different community organizations to be sure they put it out to their membership. So I really, other than just getting some calls and hearing from some of the banks that they're doing the deals, I don't know either just what the impact has been in the remote areas. That's something we really need.
Oh, yeah. We all want the data. Everybody does.
Okay.
We started the first day out of lending, that was, almost 2 weeks ago now, with 400 lenders, and we ended up with over 4,500 active lenders participating in the program. So we brought a lot of people online, including a lot of institutions that had never done anything with the SBA before. What was the other thought I had on that? The other thought I had is...
And I know there are callers who have questions, but it is something that we worry about, that perhaps Alaskan small businesses might have been disadvantaged somewhat. But the data is important, so we'll work with you on that.
All right, I'm going to go to the next question here. We're going to go with Paul Meacham in Fairbanks. Paul, you're on live with the Senators.
Hi, Paul Meacham here. My question is, we got approved for a Paycheck protection program on the 11th, but we haven't heard back from the bank. So should we file unemployment until then? And that's my question. Thank you very much.
That's a great question. Again, this would be a really good, you haven't heard back from them. If you give them a call and get an idea, this is what I can tell you. You'll want to hear from your institution. Originally, the SBA was asking that lenders turn those funds around within 5 days. And some people have already received their PPP payments. However, what we heard when we asked those lending institutions to turn those loans around in 5 days is that wasn't a realistic amount of time. And so the SBA extended that to a 10-day window. It sounds like you've had it in there for a few days. I would just, if I was in your situation, I would reach out to my lender one more time. Obviously, your loan was approved. Ask them if they have any idea on a timeline of when those funds will be dispersed. The only thing I can tell you is it'll be different for every lender, and every lender I have worked with are doing everything they can. First, they were just getting these applications in as fast as they could. Now they're committing that same kind of manpower to figuring out how to disperse those funds as quickly as they can. Nancy, anyone else want to comment on that?
No, I agree. I think it's good to talk to the lender because it could be it's in the mail. Maybe they need more information. I would just definitely contact them. They should be able to give you a pretty solid answer of when you can expect that to be in your bank account.
Well, let me just jump in here, Paul, at Senator Sullivan, just to kind of probe a little deeper with our experts. There's nothing, though, in the PPP program as he's waiting, which is this uncertain time, to start an unemployment insurance application, correct?
No, I think...
but if... Go ahead, Nancy.
It's just if he, if they start that, if you get that, they would have to pay it back, right, Jeremy?
I don't know about that. The question that came to my head is how long they'd have to wait before they got the unemployment funds. And there's probably, in Idaho, and in Washington, it's usually 2 weeks of wait time.
We have eliminated the waiting period in Alaska.
Oh, well then it might be good. I can't speak to if you have to pay it back or not. I just can't speak to that. I don't know the rules.
Okay.
Nancy, I'm not aware of any rules. Once those funds are distributed to you, I know that. That's when you hire people back, or if you're an employee, you go back to work. But if I were in your shoes and I wasn't sure how long it would take, I would apply for unemployment insurance. Does that make you feel better about my personal opinion on it? I wish I had a better or more information for you.
All right, thanks. Next up, we're going to go to Maria Rentz in Chugiak.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for taking my call. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Maria.
Okay. So I'm a sole proprietor, and I started filling out an online application that my credit union directed me to. And I have just some specific questions for sole proprietors. First of all, a lot of the additional documents that are required to be submitted with the application, I think don't apply to me. Obviously, I don't have bylaws or an operating agreement because I'm not a corporation or an LLC. And my latest completed tax return is 2018 because 2019 is right now not done. So what kind of documentation do I have to furnish being a sole proprietor, and what can I furnish to show that my 2020 year-to-date income, and basically can I roll that into my calculation for what my monthly average income is? And then one last question that's specific is on the application for a sole proprietor. I know this is kind of silly, but I'm my only employee. Do I list that as an employee, or do I put 0 as for employees? And I'll take your answers. I'll take your answers or any information that you can give me specific to sole proprietors offline. Thank you very much.
Great question. Again, you would list yourself as your own employee. The best thing I could tell you is you're filling that online. I would try to get someone on the bank on the phone with you to answer the questions so that they feel comfortable. They're the ones that are going to submit those loans. A lot of people are in your same boat. They had not filed their 2019 taxes yet as the date has been extended. So people are showing, other ways to show what their income has been. And so they'd show a 2017 or a 2018 or tax return, show some of the financials of where they are now. It's the direction that we've given the lenders is that they, it's on you, the borrower, are the one that is responsible to show what you've made, and then the lenders are to show a reasonable amount of verification. And there's a lot of gray in there, but and we did that purposefully. I mean, this program is about getting funds into the hands of small business owners and their employees. And so it doesn't have the same rigor of a background check and, assets and collateral and all those other things that would come with a typical SBA loan. So, the real question is, the reason I say get in touch with your lender is because they'll be the ones that verify the information that you use to justify your paycheck. And so you'll ultimately need to speak with them to see if what you've provided is sufficient for your PPP loan.
So Maria, Senator Sullivan, this is from the SBA guidance where it said for sole proprietorships, you may submit documentation to establish your eligibility such as payroll, 1099s, income expenses from the proprietorship, or even, quote, supporting documentation such as bank records sufficient to demonstrate the qualifying payroll amount, meaning your salary. So that's guidance from the SBA's website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have Malcolm, Milne, and Homer, who has a question for the senators and the SBA. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Yep, thanks for taking the time to speak with us. So I'm a commercial fisherman. I own and operate a boat here in Homer. My LLC, which owns a boat, issues 1099s to my crew. The SBA FAQs say that those payments should be excluded from payroll costs, so the LLC is not eligible for a PPP loan. And neither myself or my crew have business accounts, so as independent contractors or sole proprietors, we are not eligible or don't have an avenue to apply for these loans. And we just feel like we're kind of getting left out here.
So sole proprietors are available for the loans. We started lending on the 10th. Sole proprietors and independent contractors were able to apply, but not until the 10th of this month. So they were there was a rollout first for, your corporate entities, other small businesses that had a different status, and then independent contractors like yourself and my brother were able to apply. So you do qualify for the Paycheck Protection Program. You just have to apply for yourself. And again, the senators read what our SBA website has explained is the documentation you need to show. But to answer your questions, you are able to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program.
Yeah, but Jeremy, can I jump in here? Malcolm,
yeah,
Senator Sullivan. Go ahead, sorry. Jeremy, this was the issue that I raised with you recently, and I think that our fishermen, despite us making sure they're covered in the CARES Act, this issue of the crew and whether they're independent contractors themselves is something that the way the SBA is interpreting this, I continue to believe is unfair and too burdensome to our fishermen. These guys, they're not Uber drivers here, and I think it's been an issue that we either need to fix regulatory from a SBA standpoint or a legislative fix. But Malcolm, I know if you're still listening, we're trying to fix this. We're aware of what this issue is with our fishing community. And Jeremy, maybe offline we can, dig a little bit more in the details. But it's becoming a big problem in our fishing community.
Well,
I think that's a great idea.
Let me add to that, Jeremy, because we have not been able to get really the sufficient or adequate guidance from SBA on this, and it is a significant issue for a significant sector in Alaska's small business economy. This is the ultimate small business is your fishermen out there. So whether it is a statutory fix, where we're seeking to address that perhaps in this next round, but making sure that our our fishermen are not disenfranchised from this program. That was clearly not the intent when we adopted the CARES Act. I think it is important to just the way that it was rolled out with the independent contractors, sole proprietors, not being able to even apply until the 10th of April. And you effectively have a whole section of a sector within your small businesses that were not allowed to get into the early application. And now, just 4 days after the enrollment was open for them, the whole program is shut down. So, it could have been a situation that even if our fishermen, as an independent contractor, a crewman, were to have been able to apply, there's a very strong likelihood that they would not have received the money because they were phased in towards the very end. Now, we all know that we wanted the money to last longer, but I think we really undershot the demand and the need here. So this is something that that the Alaska delegation has been working to address, and we think it needs to be corrected, and the whole seasonal aspect of the way the PPP is, the way it's structured doesn't allow for a recognition of many of our seasonal businesses, and our small businesses occupy a great many in that sector. So,
well, Senators, I really appreciate that. In short order, let's get in touch with the Office of Capital Access to see what kind of see if we can interpret those regulations in a way that help those seasonal workers, and so that we can have a quick answer to know if we can fix it on the regulatory side, or if this is something that we need to make sure that is in the fix for you on the statutory side.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Senators.
All right, next up we're going to go to Dwayne Lambeth down in Sitka.
Yes. I own a Dove Island Lodge in Sitka, Alaska, and we applied for the PPP and the disaster assistance loan within an hour of it being available. And I understand that these things take time. We deal with two banks. Wells Fargo basically gave us the SBA line, and then we also deal with Northland Bank. So we went through Northland Bank, and we still haven't heard back from them on that. And I've heard, basically, well, you just need to keep trying to contact them. So we'll continue to do that. But actually, the most burning question that I have is, for us, we employ 18 people. We're a seasonal business, and we're normally are open by now, but of course, because of this, we're not. Does anybody have a kind of a foreseeable time when things will be changed where people can actually travel to Alaska? I've never taken any kind of federal handouts at all, ever, and so this is all new to me. We're just looking forward to, getting up and operating again.
Well, Dwayne, we all want you folks to get up and operating again. You may or may not have seen the president spoke this evening about a desire to get the country back open again, but doing so in a measured and a phased way, based on conditions on the ground in the respective states. But as he had articulated these different phases, so much of it is contingent upon seeing the right signals in place in terms of our ability to flatten this curve, so to speak. So there is no hard date out there, but we're all working to try to make sure that we've got a level of testing, that we are working to ensure that we've got protective measures in place so that we can relax the limitations and the restrictions that have limited our economy. What we're effectively dealing with here is a government-induced recession because of a need to contain a pandemic. And we wish we had more certainty for our businesses, but we're working through it, and it has been a challenge on so many levels. And for folks like you who are losing a full season and perhaps more, we don't know. We're working actively to try to address it, but realize that it is a devastating impact to so many.
And Dwayne, I'll just mention at Senator Sullivan that these programs are designed exactly for someone like you who's put together a business, employs a lot of people. So again, if you have additional questions and you want to reach out to our office or the SBA, Senator Murkowski and I were both on a call with the Vice President, the President, Secretary of the Treasury, and there's a huge push, on more testing, which we think is going to help opening up our economy, our country, our state again. And every senator on that call raised the issue of testing and how we need to do it at a massive kind of Manhattan Project level, which is going to help us. And I would just say, I certainly, from someone, your comment, I don't think any Alaskan who's taken assistance from the federal government right now, whether it's the PPP program, unemployment insurance, or and you mentioned it, and I know you mentioned it as someone who's been running your own business for a long time, but we certainly don't consider these handouts. We consider these the role of the federal government when we just got smacked with something more akin to a natural disaster or a war that has, come from overseas and hurt so many of our fellow Alaskans and Americans. So whatever you need in terms of reaching out to our offices, where we're trying to get you the assistance that you merit, deserve, all Alaskans do, let us know.
All right, thanks. Next, we're going to go to David in Fairbanks. David, you have a question for the senators.
Yes, thank you. I'm a sole proprietor, a seasonal tour business, and my entire 2020 season has been wiped out. So I'm looking at the PPP, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, and also expanded unemployment, which I understand can include sole proprietors now. My question is, are they mutually exclusive? And if so, how to decide which one is the best for my situation? Is there anyone at the Small Business Association who would look at my individual situation and give advice? And also, I'd like to say one other thing. Since my business is wiped out, I'm looking at 2021 now, and it's very important to me as a seasonal small business tourism operator that people feel confident that their life will not be in danger when they go to register for a tour for 2021. So I'm very concerned that the nation and Alaska is going to prematurely return to business as usual and wipe out my 21 season as well as this one. That would be a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Well, David, I think we all agree that we all want to get back to work. Everyone wants to be able to resume travel, to have a season. but we all agree that we want to do it safely, and that has to be priority one. We have the health of the economy that we need to address, and we shall, but we need to exercise some caution here as we are doing the reopening of our economy. Your question about whether or not PPP, EIDL, and expanded unemployment are mutually exclusive. I would suggest, and again, keep in mind that we're your elected lawmakers here. We're not your bankers, and we're not your lawyers here in advising you. But with the expanded unemployment insurance, this is now available for sole proprietors. It is not yet online what the state of Alaska is doing is they're still working to build out their program to accommodate this expansion of UI. What we understand is that they're not in a position to make those payments yet for probably an additional 3 weeks. It could be a little bit longer, I don't know, but I know that they're working day and night to get that up. I'm told, though, that even though they're not issuing those payments to the expanded population like sole proprietors right now, they will take your information and application so that once the program gets up, they can literally get you online and get you some resources then. So it may be worth your while to sign up now, even though you won't be in a position to actually receive those benefits for at least several weeks.
Jeremy, do you have a view on David's question? Could he apply for unemployment insurance and get a PPP loan to pay himself?
Yeah, that's a great question, Senator and David. The programs are not mutually exclusive. What you have to be careful of if you were to receive both funds is what's called a duplication of benefits, and that's not allowed. And so if you receive your Paycheck Protection Program loan, that can be used for your payroll, can be used for mortgage lease payments on your business, and it can be used for utility payments on your business. So if you were also to get disaster funds, you would want to make sure that you use those for another purpose. And so, no, that they are not mutually exclusive.
And if I might just chime in on his first question, is there somebody that can look over the documents? You've got one of the best small business development centers in the state located in Fairbanks, and that's what they do. So I would definitely go to their website, which is aksbdc.org, and look for the Fairbanks SBDC. Give them a call, and they'll be glad to look over your plans and talk to you about next steps. It's a wonderful center. You'll be very satisfied with their service.
All right, thank you. And we have time for one last question. We're going to go to Zia in Juneau. Zia, you're on.
Hi, good afternoon, Senators. I really appreciate you taking my call, and I want to congratulate you for your stand in being defending and help small businesses like mine. And I have actually two questions. And I must say, like everybody else, my company is a result of a vision, creativity, and a lot of hard work and personal sacrifice. For me, personally, is my American dream. And one that, for no fault of mine, I've seen escaping from my hands. Anyways, I applied for the ADIL, actually in the first 24 hours that the platform was up, and also the emergency grant and the PPI loan. I got the numbers, the confirmation numbers from the SBA and also from my private bank. And 3 of them actually are in process. And this morning I wake up to the horrible news that the funds are run out. And the hard work and the confidence that one has in our system that is coming to our rescue, and one moment for me was gone. So my question is, once you have a number given by the SBA or your bank, if there is another round of lending, do that number still is applicable, or actually do I have to apply another time? Again. That's one question. And the second one is mostly a comment, Senator Murkowski and Senator Sullivan. The coming back to business for small businesses like mine in Alaska is going to depend squarely in the capability of paying or retaining leases and rents. And some landlords, unfortunately, have not, and talking about personal level, have not been very keen or very actually acceptable to accept some terms or negotiations, and going even to the length of threatening to charge daily penalties if the rent was not paying in full. So here's my question. Many other states that declared a state of emergency, they have exclusive provisions of non-evict or protection to the renters. Does Alaska also have the same provisions? If not, is that an option that definitely will help us leverage to negotiate the rent, especially like the other people, that like the other callers, that most of our business depend in the seasonally, and especially in Juneau, where the tourism industry and the cruise ship industry has impacted already so much this year. Thank you. Hello?
Well, I'll take Zia's question on the issue of the leases and the rent, and the concern about being able to keep your business because you still have your leased space. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, has issued a moratorium on foreclosures and evictions for those with FHA-issued mortgages, and that's for the next 60 days. And I don't know, perhaps Dan, you know, whether the state has issued the same. I don't have that in my notes in front of me. But it is something that landlords and certainly those that are mortgage holders have been encouraged to exercise forbearance when it comes to lease payments. Our utility companies have made clear that they will not shut off utilities or services also during this COVID-19 period. So there is that effort. Again, I'd make the same offer that Senator Sullivan has, that if you need to contact us, our offices, with your specific requests for assistance, we can try to be helpful with you.
Yeah, Zia, it's Senator Sullivan, and you describe it exactly right. American dream, no fault of your own, and what we are trying to do here with the PPP, with the unemployment insurance, with the relief checks, is to enable people to get through this difficult time and then keep their businesses, keep their employees. So again, the PPP can certainly be used to pay rent. That's a qualifying expenditure in addition to utilities, in addition to payroll. And the key thing there is if you use the loan for that purpose, then the loan is forgiven. So it's like a grant. The key, obviously, for you is, we got to get the loan out the door. And so let us work with you. I don't know if Nancy, you have any other views for Zia with regard to, again, I think this issue of when people got their loans in the door, the funds have run out, but that's going to be temporary. We're going to fix that soon. My view is we should have fixed it last week or tomorrow. But I think right now that there is a stay on landlord-tenant issues in Alaska, and so that's. But let us get back to you on more specifics with our Senator Murkowski and my office. But if any of the SBA officials on the line have a view on this as well, I think that would be helpful as well. Perhaps Nancy, I'm not sure if you have a view to help with what Zia was talking about.
Yes, Senator, regarding the question about how about the applications that are in process.
Yes.
If you had submitted your applications, I'll let Kevin address the economic injury, but if you've submitted an application with your bank, but it wasn't processed in time before they shut it down, they're holding on to those. I heard from one of my bankers today saying that they approved 1,500 some loans, and they had another 600 I think in the hopper that were waiting for the next funding level. So it's not gone. I would definitely reach out to your banker and just let them know that you're interested and you're wanting to know what's going on with that. But if you got it in there, you should be okay. Kevin, did you want to address the economic injury?
Yes, I did, and I heard her say that she already had a confirmation number, and so that's great because applicants who have already submitted their applications will continue to be processed on a first-come, first-served basis. So she definitely does not need to, once the portal is open again, the application portal for idle loans, she does not need to refile an application. Just keep that application number, the confirmation number, handy that she does have.
So I want to just clarify then, Kevin, you said that for the EIDL, there is no need to reapply. If it's for the PPP, Nancy, do we have confirmation that the lenders won't require renewed application for the PPP, but that they will take those as they have received them in line?
That's my understanding, unless there are changes with the new funding that comes out. But if it comes out the same way, there should be no requirement to resubmit. They should have all the documentation in hand.
That is something that we would want to confirm for people. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Senators, we're about out of time, but if you wanted to give some brief closing remarks before we wrap this up, now is the time.
Well, I'll be very brief because people have been on the line for over an hour, and to our representatives from the Small Business Administration, thank you for being part of this call, and we appreciate our local SBA folks. They've been working around the clock as our lenders have, as we're trying to meet the needs of so many of our small businesses here. Hopefully folks have found this helpful, but I think we heard very clear tonight there is very keen demand for this program. Our businesses are hurting. Our small businesses are struggling, again, through no fault of their own. I think we recognize the value of both the PPP program, the EIDL program, and others as we're trying to bring about some level of economic stability so that we can hopefully get to a recovery place. But we need to get more money into that program. We know that it is hard to just weather it through on your own, and what we heard tonight is a reflection of people's passions, their dream, someone's life work, and for what you put into our state's economy. We thank you. On the government side, we need to be able to support the true backbone of our economy here, so that we can get on the other side of this crisis. We'll do it, but we're great because of people like you. So thank you for your contributions, and know that we've got a lot of work to do, but we're doing it together. So thank you very much for being part of the gathering this evening.
Well, thank you, Lisa, and for our SBA officials, Jeremy and Nancy, Kevin, thank you. And then, for everybody who participated, Zia, David, Dwayne, Malcolm, Mary, Laura, there's many others, but I want to echo what Senator Murkowski said. Thank you for all the hard work you've done for our state, for America, the sacrifices you've put in to building your businesses, and now the sacrifices that all of you are making, because you're doing it to help for the greater good in terms of the health of your fellow Alaskans, fellow Americans. It's unprecedented what's happening. My view is we have to get as many resources to all of you to get you through this time, because you didn't do anything wrong. So please use us. We're working 24/7, 7 days a week to help. On any question, reach out to our offices, and we're going to get this thing funded. It should have been funded already, but we want to. We're with you side by side. Sullivan.senate.gov/coronavirus for more information. But reach out to our offices, and we'll get through this stronger. But it's going to take more sacrifice. So thank you very much.